So, as Sharon spoke about, we're in the middle of a series right now, and it's looking at the steps that we can take to overcome whatever challenges may show up in our lives. It was kind of discovered or put into this form by Unity ministers Richard and Mary Alice Jaffola, and they outline this in their book, The Lazarus Blueprint. And we've already looked at the first three steps. And she kind of outlined those a little bit. But the first step is whenever we're looking to move through a challenge, to get to the other side of a challenge, we can't stay focused on the challenge. And as she alluded to, that's very hard to do. If we're in the middle of something that's going on in our lives, usually all of our thoughts are focused on that. And most of the time, our thoughts get focused on the what ifs. It's not even so much about what's happening right now, but how am I going to get through this? What's going to happen? And typically we go, at least I'll speak for myself, if I'm not careful, to the dark side of the worst, the very worst that could happen as a result of whatever's happening in our lives. So we have to begin to shift our thinking. We have to turn away from the challenge and change our thoughts and try and focus them on whatever it is that we're wanting to move through and get to the other side of. Einstein said that we can't solve any problem from the consciousness from which it was created. So if we're in the same space in which that challenge arrived, it's very difficult to get beyond it. And as we look at the story that these steps are based on, which is Jesus and what he did when he raised Lazarus from the dead, the second thing that he did that this calls for us to emulate is he tells them that despite all appearances, Lazarus has been dead for 4 days when he arrives at the site. He tells them to take away the stone. And we explored what our stones might be that might be blocking the way in which we are being called to move through. It might be those feelings of anger or upset or betrayal or unforgiveness. All of that we might be holding on to has to be released before we can step out of whatever tomb we found ourselves in and come out into the life. We looked last week at step 3, which is great expectations. And this is one I've been working on a lot this week because appearances don't always shore up what it is that you're hoping in the time frame that you're hoping for things to unfold. And the authors remind us that we have this internal GPS system. We have this guidance available to us. We first have to type in the destination where we want to go. We have to get clear about where it is that we want to end up in as this journey unfolds. And this GPS within us helps us be able to navigate it. We might run into a detour. We might take a wrong turn. And our internal GPS is available to us to guide us to how we can get there, even if it's a slightly different route from the one that we thought we were going to take to move through it. The goal remains the same, even though the route may change a little bit. And whether it's the GPS in our car or an expectation in our life, we want to be clear about what that is, and then we have to check in and see, are we still expecting to arrive in the same place? When we talk about expectation, we're talking about where our faith is invested. This is the address that you are heading towards. And to know that when we can stay the course in our great expectations, then the natural, inevitable result is great results. And now when we get to the fourth step, Jesus, having instructed them to take away the stone, addresses the crowd because they're all murmuring, because it's like, that stinks. That's really bad. I don't understand why you're exposing all of us around here to this horrific reminder of what's happened to this one that we love so much. But Jesus ignores all them. He stands there. He, as they say, lifted up his eyes or looked upward, and he said, Father, I thank you for having heard me, and I know you always hear me. This ability to have, as they call it, upfront thanks is one of the keys that we have to embody in order to get to the place that we want to arrive at. You know, it's pretty common courtesy. We teach our children this to say please and thank you. When somebody gives us something, our natural reaction is to say thank you. But that's not the kind of gratitude that we're talking about. That's not the kind of appreciation that we're talking about, because it doesn't really affect us. It's a reaction. You know, Jesus talked about this in a number of different places, but he said to the people very specifically, he said that there is no great spiritual reward in loving those who love you. The real spiritual enrichment comes when you have the ability to love others, even when they aren't reciprocating in kind, or as he put it, love your enemies. Great expectations, along with a perpetually grateful heart for what good is to come, opens more channels of possibilities. It is the path, it is the vibration of abundance itself. Gratitude, the universe hears it and goes, "Oh, let me, step in and support this." I like to call this proactive gratitude. They call it upfront thanks, but this is proactively giving thanks for all that is to come. And it's not an intellectual thought. To think, oh, I'm grateful for that, again, has no real meat to it. It has to be a feeling, it has to be something that rises up in your heart. It allows you, it sends that message out of great expectations. They go hand in hand. I'm expecting this and I'm giving thanks for it, even if it hasn't quite arrived yet. So let me ask you, and I'm asking you guys at home too, you can just type in a quick comment. Just off the top of your head, what can you have as proactive gratitude? What can you be proactively grateful for right now? Not what good is already here. What can you be proactively grateful for right now? The sanctuary opening. There, that's the best answer right there. We just had that at the beginning. What else? What else are you expecting in your life that you're going to be grateful for right now? The next paycheck. Proactively grateful for your next paycheck. A new kitchen. Ooh, yeah, you got to have some proactive gratitude going. Trust me, when you're in the contracting mode, proactive gratitude helps a lot. Yes. So, great friends and good people that have yet to arrive in your life. What else, Lori? Health. Proactive gratitude for health. That's an important one. I have proactive gratitude for a healthy grandson that's going to be born here in a couple of weeks. And we're just knowing that that's true. Let's see. I've got gratitude for peace. So that's great, Julie. I know it's not always easy to experience, but by being grateful for it and expecting it changes us. It may not change anything out there, but when we change, our experience of everything out there changes. Because here's what I want you to know, that life responds to appreciation. Life responds to gratitude. There's been lots of studies done with plants and with animals. And when we love them, regardless of, whether they're looking beautiful or not. I have a cat who's 18 now. I have said to her for 18 years, "You are the sweetest cat. You are just the sweetest cat." And it's taken almost 18 years for her to get that message that she is a sweet cat. And most of the time, it's only with my husband and I. She still hasn't gotten that memo. When other people walk in the door, she can be sweet to them too. I can only do so much in a lifetime, but I think that's a huge shift for this poor creature who came in. Everybody feels better when they're appreciated. There is a vibration that happens, there is energy that happens when we are appreciated, not for what we've done, just for who we are and the way that we are showing up in life. Positive words and reinforcements like the ones, and hopefully you got gifted a little card today. If not, there's some in the baskets here. You can pick one up. Create more proactive gratitude. The more we can be focused on the positive aspects of who we are and how life is unfolding, the more it will create that which reinforces it for us. And it's not just about thinking it or even feeling it. We have to be willing to speak it. You notice Jesus didn't do a silent prayer. He didn't just pause for a moment and close his eyes and send up a thank you to God, or he said it out loud. And he says he said it out loud, not for himself. He's like, I already know this. I know it at every, cell in my body. But I've said it so that the people around me can also begin to tap in to this same awareness, that they can also be in that state of expectancy with me. There are lots of places in the Bible where we see this practice of Jesus doing this upfront things, this proactive gratitude. And usually the way it's described is that he looks up. And for a lot of people, when he looks up, they're assuming that God must be up there somewhere. So I'm looking up and I'm talking to God somewhere out there in the universe beyond what I can see. And yet, metaphysically, if we can understand this for ourselves, when we lift our eyes, what we're doing is seeking a higher level of thinking about it, of feeling about it, of consciousness about it. It allows us to see beyond it and be able to know that there are more possibilities than just the ones that my humanness has informed me are possible. I love a story that was shared in the book that the author shared, and this was a couple who was going through one of their classes, Jim and Tricia. And they had a really successful computer business. They taught classes there, they repaired computers, and it got so busy that they brought this partner in named Roger. And he was to handle the customers and the sales and going out and, getting other companies wanting to take advantage of their services. And after a few years of this business just being very successful, one day Roger disappeared. And along with him, he took all of the money that was in the bank account of this business. And after weeks of shock and disbelief and even a fair amount of depression, it became clear to them that they weren't going to be able to recover from this, that their business was failing. They just didn't have the resources to pour back into it. And at the same time, they discovered this class that they were offering at their local unity church about the 6 steps of overcoming whatever obstacles and challenges you might be having. And they described this as going through the first steps. And by practicing these first 3 steps, they were feeling more hopeful. They at least had a little hope that something could come out of this that would be good, that would be a positive path for them to move forward. They described every evening coming home, and the first thing that they did was to consciously look beyond what had happened and give thanks up front for the blessings that were in store for them. Yes, for their lives too, but they were really focused on, we just are thankful for what is to come out of this. And they said at first it sounded kind of hokey, especially saying it out loud. Most of us, we do our prayers in the quietness of our minds and beings. And praying out loud is like one of the most uncomfortable things. I know when people come and work with me and I invite, who would like to say a prayer? It's like, I'm not used to actually speaking these words out loud. But they practiced this because they knew the power of the voice. This is the center of power right here. And they continued to practice it night after night. And they found they began to believe it. They sort of got into that place of expectation, like, yeah, something is going to come out of this, something good. And one evening, they said, out of the blue, popped up this thought that they should create a bed and breakfast out of their farmhouse that they lived in. And as they write, we're thankful every day for our prosperity and for our happiness and for this ability that we have been taught to move beyond and stay stuck, for years, as many people do when something that difficult and unfair has happened to them, and move. And then now they said, this is something we probably would have never dreamed of. And yet it is exactly what our hearts have said we're being called to do. They illustrate an important element in this step. Sometimes you have to fake it before you make it. And here's the thing, our brains are wired so they don't know. Whether it's a thought we're manufacturing with all of our energy to try and be in that positive space, or it comes naturally to us, the brain only knows the positive thought that's going through. And every thought that we have produces these neural pathways. The more we think it, we create a path so that it's easier and easier to then access it. When we're first trying to do it, it can feel a little odd and it doesn't feel like it's doing much. But the more we practice it, the more it opens up within us to see and to be able to receive the kind of thoughts that show up that allow us to look at and to engage in life differently. Jesus, as I mentioned before, completes this part of the step by saying, I know you always know, but I've said this for the sake of the crowd. And the crowds in our mind are those thoughts. It's those thoughts that tell us it's all bad, nothing's going to work, this is the way life is, you're just going to have to suffer through it. So when we change our thoughts, when we can change the way we think and feel about something, then it opens up something different for us. This is the power of positive affirmation that we teach in Unity. We don't do it because we're just trying to be fake or put on a show. We do it to change our own minds and our own hearts. And when we do, it allows us to shift the crowd. If you think of the crowd that Jesus was talking to as our thoughts, into believing and perceiving beyond just what the physical senses or what the activities that are happening right now might inform us of. So that's our opportunity, and we're going to get to put it into some practice right now as we move into a time of meditation. So as we do this, I would just invite you to get comfortable where you are. It sets everything aside that you might be holding on to. If you're comfortable, you can close your eyes, because sometimes that helps our focus to be inward, or just ponder some point in the room. And just become aware of our breath as it moves in and out of our bodies. This is the amazing thing about awareness, because even though we may focus our awareness on it right now, the breathing is happening all the time, even when we're not aware. So this is to remind us that there are things at work even when our awareness gets taken and shifted elsewhere. And then allow yourself to just be focused on your heart area as you breathe, almost visualizing breathing in and out of your heart space. When we breathe and focus on a rhythmic flow of our heart, it allows that neocortex of our minds to become more fully present, the place where infinite possibilities live and are seeking to live through us. And I invite you to either focus on whatever challenge you might be working these steps through, or just something that you are expectant around, something that you are calling forth into your life experience. And see if you can't lift up your thoughts to the highest possibility that you can imagine. Give thanks that even if it doesn't arrive in this particular moment, that as you ask, you receive. And as you appreciate what is to come, it calls it forth. Give thanks for the flexibility to be able to navigate around detours or wrong turns, knowing that as you are attuned to the God wisdom within, you will arrive at your destination. Feel that sense of appreciation just to be here in this moment, for the amazing opportunities to grow and deepen and expand your relationship with your own inner Christ and with the God of the universe. And to know there's so much more. There's so much more to life than just this human journey that we're on. There is a spiritual and soul journey that is a part of this life, but moves and lives and continues long beyond the use of our physical bodies. Just take a moment and see if you can't imagine that gratitude and appreciation bubbling up and overflowing out of your heart. So that every cell, every atom is now infused. Great expectations deliver great results. And so we give thanks for all that is to come. And whenever you're ready, you can bring your attention back to this time and to this space, to the sounds of the room, and open your eyes. So Emerson said that once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. Probably our biggest challenge is we make lots of decisions and we contradict those. We make a decision one day and we go, oh no, I don't want it. I'm not sure if I can do that. Maybe I'll try this. So once we make a decision and can stand firm in that decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. The universal creative intelligence living in you and as you is always on your side, always working on your behalf. And this spirit of life requires only two things of you: your invitation to allow it to work, and your great expectation with gratitude that it will. Trust the spirit of life and be grateful and know that it is calling forth the very best for you. And it's guiding you there every step of the way. So as we're doing in this series, I've got an affirmation for us to say together. All right, join me. Let's speak these words as if we mean them. I center my thoughts on positive changes taking place right now. I give thanks in advance for all the good to come. Thank you, God. Amen. Well, it is our opportunity to share our financial good with this community. we do all that we do based on the support and the commitment by the people within these walls and those who are around the country who also support us. We're grateful for every gift that we get, and we know with great expectation that we will always have what we need to do what is ours to do. So let us take the energy or the actual gifts that we're given into our hands and into our hearts as we join and bless them together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, Father, Mother God.
All right, everybody, why don't you stand together and let's do our peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin.
And so, as we go into this week, giving thanks with great expectation of what's to come, we go knowing our prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a beautiful week, everyone.